What is going on, Bulls Nation? So we lost back to back against two teams, and we're clinched the 10th no matter what happens. So the question is, should we rest our players or should we let them play to form continuity? We'll talk about that right after this.
You're listening to Chicago Bulls Nation, your home for all things Chicago Bulls.
God, I love that word, continuity. That's what we heard all season long. But yeah, that is a legit question because there's this remaining two games means nothing for the Bulls. They won't better their position. They're locked in at 10 no matter what happens from here on out. I guess the only question, I don't know if it's still up in the air, but I think we are going to face Toronto, which is a tough matchup for the Bulls. We beat them before, but honestly, I'd rather have Atlanta, even though they gave us a whooping last time. I still think that the Bulls match up better with Atlanta because Toronto just have the length, the defense, and Nick Nurse just knows how to suppress DeMar DeRozan. Not that the Hawks didn't, but, you know, I think Nick Nurse has a better understanding on how to corral the Bulls. With that being said, we are in no position to choose our opponents because we put ourselves in the 10th place. If we were higher in the seed, you know, maybe would have home court advantage, but does that mean really anything? Because the Bulls really hadn't taken advantage of home court this past season. Sometimes they're better off playing in the road. So does that even mean anything if we go 9th or 8th or anything like that? This is a tough spot because the Bulls, I still think that the Bulls can beat any team at any given night. They have that roster. But with that being said, it's going to be a hard task to ask the Bulls to win 2 in a row at road in a playoffs environment. You know, it's play-in, but basically you're fighting for a playoff spot here. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. We have the players. I think we have the defense to attribute that. We don't have the consistency. Heck, we haven't even won 4 games in a row this year. And you're asking them to win back-to-back pressure games with the season basically on the line. Could they do it? Absolutely. I think they could. It's going to be tough. Regardless of who the opponent is, it doesn't really matter. So to answer the question, do we really need to play? I would say no. I would say there's more cons to pros into them playing this next 2 games. The pros is, you know, maybe they'll build cohesiveness, but this next 2 games are 2 teams that might shut down Luka and Kyrie. So you're not playing a top level competition here. Even with Detroit, they're trying to lose. So you're not gaining anything because the team that you're going to play in the play-in, they're locked in. They're planning to win. So what works within these 2 teams? For example, we play in dominated Mavericks and Detroit. There's nothing that you can carry over to the next game because those things that might have worked will not work against those other teams because they're better. Against Atlanta or the Raptors, they're going to play better players. They're playing for something compared to those 2 teams. So there's going to be no takeaway. Now, if you try to rest your players, maybe, just maybe, DeMar would get better because we know he's being hampered with his hamstring or maybe just old age. Maybe he's just regressing. I don't know. But for all we know, he has this hamstring injury from what they're saying. So maybe if you rest him and Zach, they would recuperate, maybe, and maybe they're more refreshed towards the play-in. As far as quote-unquote continuity and momentum, there's no such thing with the Bulls. There's no momentum with the Bulls. They win on the road. They lose at home. You can play the same starters all the time. You can mix it up. There's no pattern on the Bulls winning. It's just confusing. They would win a comeback win against the Grizzlies and then blew it up against Atlanta and the Bucks, which they don't have their star players. So there's really no rhyme or reason with the Bulls. I would say just rest them because best case scenario is we won both games. We will advance to the playoffs. Worst case scenario is that we lose a game. Now we're closer to maybe getting our pick back. I don't know. The odds are better. So even if we lose the 2 other games, it won't improve our position, but it would improve our odds if we don't make it to the playoffs. if that makes any sense. So I'm against playing our star players. I would say play rotational guys. See what you have with Dalen Terry, with extended minutes. Carlick Jones. See what you have with Patrick Williams, because in this next two games, my biggest critique with Donovan is that I understand you want to stick with your starters, but we've been doing this all season where the opposing team would go on a run and we score 2 points and we would never recover. You need to be able to understand fully, let's say with DeMar, we can't let him shoot 25 shots before he gets his rhythm back, because at that point, it'll be too late. If nothing's working, because the problem with our three alphas or our three all-stars is that they almost contribute nothing outside of scoring. Well, with Vooch, it's rebounding. But the other two, there's no playmaking, there's no defense, very little, So if they're not working out, if they're not scoring, you got to pull one or the other. You got to pull out Zach or DeMar, ideally DeMar, if we get big. And who is going to get in place of him? That's where you need to find out. Do we need scoring? Is Patrick Williams going to provide that? Are we getting killed on the scoring end, meaning the other team is going on a hard run? They scored 18 points in the first 2 minutes. Then maybe Patrick Williams can solve that, slow them down a little bit. They need to find that out. Or maybe Dalen Terry can provide those, energy minutes. Maybe this is the time to put Javonte Green back with his energy and his defense, playmaking, get him back to the groove. I think we should rest Vooch, DeMar, Caruso out, because Caruso always out anyway. Put Patrick Williams in there, put Patrick Beverly in there, get Ayo back up and running. But I would suggest do not play the starters in the next two games. Let them rest, let them recover, let them go to I don't know, Mexico or something like what Zach did, and then he's rejuvenated. But see what you have with your bench players or your young guys, because the worst thing is that you make an assessment with them. And maybe you don't want to keep Kobe in the long run. I don't know. I wanted to. But maybe it'll be clearer that you don't want to keep Ayo or something. Or at least see what you have in them in this situation. But let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're a Bulls fan. And I'll see you guys in the next video.